Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, coming to you from our satellite station here in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And tonight we are going to look at yet another crowdfunded comics effort. This one, okay, things happen in waves in crowdfunding, and I don't know why this happens. It happens in movies and television too. It's like everybody gets this really great idea, and then they do 28 different unique things with it. We've gone through our phase of werewolves. We've gone through our phase of giant robots. Now we're getting into some MonkeyShines because we've had our 6-gun gorilla. We're going to get an AR-15 orangutan. Goodness knows we're going to probably have a bazooka baboon sometime down the road here. But ahead of all of that, we have Manny Shape with us tonight, who has already outpaced the rest of the books with El Crudo. Am I saying that correctly? Is it a long U or?
Yeah, it's a long U. It's El Crudo. It's Spanish for raw. So I just swapped out the C with a K because apes can't spell, right? So
because apes can't spell. No, of course not. And he is an ape, right? I mean, I don't know what
we all are, right, to some degree.
if there's a tail, then it's a monkey, not an ape. So yeah, he has a tail.
I mean, I wear clothes and I have money in my pocket. Other than that, I'm pretty much an ape. So it's tough to differentiate.
Slightly less there. Forget, our fellow humans will remind us that pretty much we're nothing more than monkeys with car keys half the time.
Yeah, it's especially out there on the road. It's the most obvious place to recognize that.
Yes. So how long have you been at this with El Crudo? Is that even his name? Yeah.
So I don't know if you had a chance to check the books out, but yeah, it's his name's El Crudo. So just to give a quick elevator pitch, he's an orangutan raised by the United States military and is dropped into the Vietnam War, and he gets stuck behind enemy lines. So it's basically pivots around the internal monologue of an orangutan. So he's just kind of longing to get back to the U.S., and he just causes a bunch of craziness in Vietnam. This was actually based off of a short story. When I was a younger man, I wanted to be a writer, so I did a lot of creative writing, this was just one of those ideas. I'll fix it, I'm sure. This was just one of those ideas that kind of stuck. So the first episode of El Crudo I wrote in actually 2005. So I wrote it in 2005, and I wrote it. I read it to my friend. He laughed. I got a chuckle out of him. Wrote another one, got a chuckle out of him again. So I was traveling around South America for about 5 months, and during that time I wrote about 4 or 5 of these just little short vignettes about a crazy orangutan cruising around Vietnam. And then when I got back, I thought it'd be fun to do something with it. So in about 2007, I put out a Craigslist ad, and this guy who I still work with today, Boris, he's done some work recently in the project. We actually did a 6-minute animated short, flash animation. I actually was pitching it to like indie cartoon companies. And this was right before the financial crash of 2008, 2009. So I kind of had some success with it at the beginning, but then the crash hit. I pivoted. I started to get a little bit older, and I started to get more responsibilities, so I took the career route. Then I got some. Towards my late 20s, I started to have a pretty decent career and some expendable income, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to revamp El Crudo? So I set aside some cash and I produced EK1. This was back in 2016. I set out to produce EK1. Finished it in 2017, and the rest has just been history. We found a really cool core base. It's almost been four years now, and we've been churning out a book about every 9 months since.
So was your first book crowdfunded on Indiegogo?
No, the first book I funded it myself. I was on a shoestring budget, but I just I found another artist on Craigslist, Zeros, who's actually he was working with the project all the way through episode 4, issue 4. Zeros is the man. I put out an ad for like a storyboard artist, and he replied. along with like 10 other people. But he said that he's never done a comic book before, but that he was a student of art. And I was like, hey, I've never done a comic book before either. So we're perfect.
There you go.
So we've been working together ever since.
So you've got an intro video here on the campaign page. We're going to give that a play and let people get a little bit more of this hairy fella. Well, I saw a lot more than Vietnam going by there.
Yeah, we kind of live part of the story in El Crudo's head. So part of it's first person, right? So part of the sequence you saw was an opium-induced dream. So yeah, he that's in episode 4. So he dabbles in he finds some stuff in Vietnam, and to kill some time. He's waiting for the U.S. to roll through and liberate the area. So he's figuring like, I got time to kill, and he partakes in a little illicit substances, and then he has a fever dream. So I kind of tied it in with his origin story. So the fever dream kind of starts with the origin story, but yeah, it's an opium-induced dream sequence.
I just love seeing him swinging around in fatigues with weaponry on here, and the fact that he's been trained to use now. I've only gone through the first issue, and even then cursorily, because I've been doing like two a nights and 3 a nights lately. So
yeah, you've been busy, man. I've seen you around quite a bit.
Oh, well, I've got nothing else to do pretty much. But is he? What makes him unique? I mean, why haven't they just recruited an entire platoon of orangutans?
Sure. So they have. So he's part of he's part of the Great Apes Special Operations Unit. So essentially, and I get into this in EK4 a little bit. So I kind of do the slow burn style. So EK1, 2, and 3, we don't really get the full backstory. So the full backstory is in EK4. And at that point, we do see that, yes, he is one of other apes, a bunch of other apes in the program. And in EK1, they say that they just sent him in on this one just to try out the program, because they've had the program now for a couple of years. It looks successful, and they want to see if, they got the journals up the colonel's rear for results on this program. They send him in as a trial, and from their perspective, it doesn't work out, right? Because they think he's long gone. But yeah, there are other apes, and I'm tying all of that together. So there will be more apes involved as the story progresses.
So is he? Are they trained, or are they drug enhanced to be trained?
Yep. So they're trained. So it's kind of in an alternate universe. So I take operant conditioning and some of the early findings and the early optimism of B.F. Skinner. And so there's a letter in episode 4 where the doctor who's kind of proposing this plan to the military as a possible use case to the Department of Defense. His name's Dr. F.B. Renix, right, which is B.F. Skinner backwards, right? Sure. Not sure. Too clever, but either way. So it's taking the concept of early operant conditioning, when they thought that they could do just about anything with any animal, right? Before we started to get into those limitations in the 70s and 80s. The early operant conditioning, they were very, very enthusiastic. So I kind of took that to the nth degree of not only can they learn tool manipulation and tasks and things like that, but also concepts like patriotism and friend and enemy concepts and things like that. So
Very high concepts, yeah.
yeah, so we get into that a little bit in EK4, and it's a running theme throughout the books. I introduced the team in EK2, which is some of the other apes, and then continuously I progress until there's a culmination of the team in later issues.
I'm because I'm a bad writer. I was going to say that I'm half surprised that you didn't have the unit be comprised of 7 other apes, and then call it Prime 8.
Yeah, so there are 8. There are 8.
Oh,
there are definitely 8 apes, but there's also some monkeys, and we get into that a little bit too. So the monkeys are for reconnaissance, of course. They're not.
oh, sure.
Yeah. So Alcrudo is actually trained for covert ops. So each of them have a different specialty. One is the classic RPG style, right? So we'll get there. Not all the apes show up in all of it, but yeah, it's definitely some crazy apeness coming up. Very
cool. I mean, I'm surprised that you're only at $554. You've got 21 backers.
Yeah.
So this has got to be, you got to be selling this for like what, a nickel? I got to scroll down here.
Well, this is our second crowdfund. So we actually did a crowdfund first on Kickstarter, and we hit about 3,000 on that. So essentially, I just did a small print run, right? Because I'm not making tons of money off these things.
Yeah,
I'm having tons of fun, but I'm not making tons of money. So I'm almost out of the print run. So this is to do a second print run. And yeah, in Indiegogo, I wanted to run them concurrently, but it was just too much work. So I figured I was selling them on my website. I'm still selling a lot on my website, but I'm almost out. So this is for second print.
All right. Well, it's hitting the right crowd. I mean, this is where people come when they want to buy comics about rabbits that carry guns.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Hops would be a natural fit for this, for like some sort of a team up. So let's see what we've got here in the tiers. You got digital. So okay, all my peeps in the chat who are always screaming about where's the digital? Here's the digital, and this is $6 for 4 issues. Mm-hmm. My math's not all that great, but I think that's like about $1.33 an issue.
Yeah, so for me, since we're kind of up and coming and I'm playing the long game, right, I have a lot of stuff coming down the pike. Actually, EK5 is coming just in a couple months. We're just about to start working on some color stuff. So I'm really just trying to reach an audience at this point. I don't want price to be an obstacle at all. And I've heard people say that, you need to have the physical and that. But for me, this is a passion project for me. I'm really not trying to crack into comics or anything like that. I have a story to tell. I want to share the story with other people because that's the whole point, right? You're a creator, so you understand. It's like we got this thing, we want to share it with other people. I don't want any barriers of entry of anybody, at least to get these first 4 chapters. Because for me, these first 4 chapters is like the intro. This is just like, if you get through these first 4 chapters, this sets the stage for what's to come. So yeah, so at this point, I just want to reach as much big of an audience as possible. Anybody that's interested in Crazy Ape indie comics, I don't want to have any obstacle to that. Any medium that they want to read it in is fine by me.
Okay, so these first 4 issues would probably constitute a complete arc. Then you could put these in a trade paperback.
It's the first chapter. Yep, it's volume 1. So I divided up so this story, there's already an end, right? So this is based off of a story I wrote almost 15 years ago. And I hate to think I'm that old, but I'm building towards that, and I chopped it up into 16 episodes. So there's 4 major volumes, right? There's 4 major volumes. So yes, 1 through 4 is its own volume. It's kind of like its own set. 5 through 8, 9 through 12. So I kind of divided it up into that framework.
All right. So here's the first physical issue of this one. It's number 4 physical. Only 2 people who claim this. Come on, people. This is Monkey with Gun. What is not? Plus all the stickers. Ooh, I'm going to get some stickers tonight.
Yeah. I will say that the issue 2. So I mean, we are charging $10 for issue 2, and I hate charging $10 for a book, but it is 52 pages, so it's a double issue, and there's no fluff in there. It's 52 pages of all content. So that's why this was issue 4 was a bigger project, and there's a lot more art that went into it. So I'm charging a little bit more.
Okay, but $12 for a comic. I'm seeing double that for 35-page comics and such. So I think you're right in the market with that. I was just looking at this cover, this Boris Vallejo tribute cover.
Oh yeah, that's this right here. It's it's more of we were inspired by Frazetta, right? So we have this opium-induced dream sequence, and I always just wanted to do a crazy orangutan with Viking horns and a battle axe. So I was like, why not? We'll do it. That's one of the perks of this genre, if you want to call it a genre. It's that you can do just about anything you want as long as you work it into the story. It'll play. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Absolutely. So of course with this, I mean, you're getting more than just the comic book. You're getting the stickers, a can koozie. I've got some friends who want to know about that.
Oh yeah,
they feel their creative rights have been infringed upon.
We've been doing El Crudo can koozies and prints. I mean, we got some prints that we're offering with that tier. I mean, pretty much anything that can fit in a.
Let me give you the full screen there.
Oh yeah, so this is a print. This is by this is just a character design by Elliot Rodriguez.
Nice.
So we're doing anything that'll fit in a Gemini mailer, pretty much. Yeah. We'll squeak in there, right? So we have some stickers. These are images from El Crudo 4. So anything that'll sit flat and mail together and not increase your mailing costs, we'll throw it in there.
And if you want to get the physical, holy cow, $22 for the physical copies. That's only 8 claims. Guys, I'm screaming that shit. That thing I said about the last deal, forget that one. Get this one.
Again, for me, episodes 1 and 2. I mean, we've already printed those. They're 4 years old, so I already have those in print, and I printed extra, right? Because I knew that I've been selling exponentially more as I've progressed, right? So I printed a lot more of 1 and 2. So that's a sunk cost for me. They're already paid for. So I'm kind of like including those into the equation. I'm just saying, hey, look, it's a sunk cost. I want people to be able to buy a package, get a rad episodes 1 through 4, and then if they want to stick with us, I mean, EK5 and EK6, they're coming right around the corner.
Yes.
And hopefully we can find some good fans that way.
Yeah, and here's where we can see what the koozie looks like, as well as the stickers are in this picture. I'm sure there's a bigger picture off to the left here. I keep forgetting that when I do this stuff. And then there's the supper fan edition for those who like to eat.
Yeah. Where's my editor when I need him?
And you can't change it once it's up.
I know. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, that's we make these awesome metal prints, and they're like 8 by 14. They're just like awesome metal prints. We printed 15 of them and we sold 14 of them, so I have 1 left. So I went ahead and put that up. So essentially, it's just this rad wall mount metal glossy print.
Nice.
And I know everybody has different levels of affluence, and so anybody that's interested in that, of course, we'd appreciate the support.
Is the picture of the print down here?
It is the cover of EK4.
Okay.
So it is the battle axe. It's that battle axe scene. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you got an action figure.
Well, yeah. So that is just a placeholder. So we met a guy who makes these custom clay figures. So he was going to do a custom clay, one of a kind, hand painted, and I think it was going to be a 10-inch clay figure. So yeah, he's the man. I don't have his contact info right now, but I was really impressed with his work, and so I figured I'd put it up there. And I mean, the majority of the money goes to him anyway, but I would just really love to see an EK clay figure out there in the world. So
yeah,
so at that point we'll put it up.
Well, if you want to see figures, I can hook you up with the 3D print guy who does them for cost.
Yeah, we're thinking of doing something like that for EK5 and 6. So yeah, please, maybe we can connect after. That'd be great.
I can do that. And you had somebody already claimed the Superfan edition.
Yeah, I had to put up another one. I just checked my inventory. I have 2 in there, so 1 sold today, and then I put up another one just in case. I was going to keep the other one for myself because it's cool and I want it in my office, but I'll just print another one if I need it. I'm not too worried about it.
All right. And here's the important information, folks, is that all 4 of these issues are 100% complete. This is not, we're working on issue 4 at this point because you've already done that with the Kickstarter version of the campaign.
Yep, we funded it with the first time, so I'm gonna tweak the inside cover on the second print, excuse me, just so that it says, for all those people that got in first, I want there to be a differentiator.
Yeah.
But other than that,
doesn't really need to be anything other than a little Indiegogo logo in the lower corner or something.
That's all it's going to be. It's going to be a change in the inside cover. Nobody's going to even notice, but same quality and everything. And all I have to do is just reorder with the printer. So
yeah,
I don't think I need.
But I'm still loving this first cover here. I mean, if this becomes a movie, this is your cover. This is your movie poster right here.
Yeah, it tells it all. Diving head first into Vietnam, into the map, and also we called it Enter the Sausage Grinder. So maybe I'll mention something about that. So there's been I've had a lot of different titles for that first issue, but I ended up going with Enter the Sausage Grinder, and mainly, well, for one, Enter the Dragon's one of my favorite movies, so it's kind of like it just sounds right in my head. But also, I figured if we put out so El Crudo's not for everybody, right? It's not. I mean, it's for everyone that would like this sort of thing. So if you kind of put that name in the title, you're going to weed out a lot of people that wouldn't be interested in the book anyway. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like signaling to anybody who, hey, if you pick up a book and you see an orangutan dual wielding jumping into Vietnam, and the title's Enter the Sausage Grinder, and you're like, hey, that sounds cool. Well, then you're going to like the book.
Well, and I'm sitting here thinking, who wouldn't think that sounds cool?
Some people.
I've seen every Planet of the Apes movie there is out there, including the ones that suck.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are pretty slow.
Yeah. I remember the television series, which I think was just the movies cut into chapters, but I could be wrong.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they used to have a regular television series of episodes. Is the U.S. the only one training animals in this world?
Correct. So yeah, there's a little joke about that in EK5, but yes, in this world, yes, they're the only ones.
All right. So I would think they would. I think they'd be sneakier in combat if they went in naked. But
yeah, so that was part of the training, was that in order to get friend and enemy concepts, they had differentiators, and they would use clothing, they would use hats and things like that. So in the original short story that I wrote, there was a comment that they would attack anybody that wasn't in military garb or a 3-piece suit, that they were just, because they were so primal that they would attack anything that didn't have those indicators. Because I mean, if you're dropping them into Vietnam, how would they differentiate, right? How would they know? Because It's not like you and I, where we see all these differences among people, and we have these us and them concepts kind of built in. I mean, how do you train an animal that has no frame of reference for that? So that's where I did think about the uniforms and those type of things, and that was my response. All of that has been edited out of the comics.
Oh, okay.
Because it's too early. But
it was, something that we when I was when I was a young pup back in the 80s, I was writing defense programs for Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Oh, is that right?
And the the whole discussion was, how do you fight an army that's doesn't have a uniform? You have no idea whether they're in the army or selling hot dogs.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. So yeah, so I originally touched upon those themes. It hasn't made the final cut, but yeah, I hear you, man. It's a conundrum. Yeah,
and he's perfectly suited for every pun intended guerrilla warfare.
Exactly.
Yeah, these covers are just freaking awesome here.
Yeah, we tried to have fun.
I particularly like this one here. This number 2. I don't know who you're.
That's Zeros.
I need to look something up. But
That's zeros. Yeah. So episode 2 is called Dragon's Blood. That's kind of where we get into some of the illicit money making schemes that the Viet Cong is engaged in. So we land in this guy's territory. His name's Major Deng. He's a warmongering major in the Viet Cong, and he's controlling the Vietnam Highlands. That's part of his territory. One of his sources of revenue is opium farm, right? So, Dragon's Blood is slang for black tar opium. So that's where that comes from. And I'm gonna have a dog attack me here in a second. Somebody just got home. Hey, buddy.
Dogs are loved on the show.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Google is going to make me hunt and peck and hunt and peck.
Yeah, what are you thinking? So if you see I'll keep talking if you like. Episode 3 there is called Deal Breaker, and so you see he's stabbing an unrevealed individual in the middle of an opium. Those are opium poppies for those who might not have majored in agriculture.
My exposure to opium poppies is that scene from The Wizard of Oz.
Yep, beautiful flowers. But when the flowers fall off, you got these pods and the crowns, and that's kind of what they look like close up. So
they kind of look like their own cactuses too.
Yeah, they kind of do. Yeah, after the flowers fall off, they definitely look kind of like these alien pods.
Well, I'm going to go with this picture here because it's the closest one I can find, even though I know it's not the exact picture I was looking for. And of course they make it a postage stamp. Never mind. Anyway, I've seen this style before here with the two heads facing out and back to back, and I've seen it as a recurring logo.
Definitely. Yeah, we went with we're kind of going with the 80s action movie vibe. So
it's got
pretty
some
classic.
big Little China thing going on for it there.
Yeah, it's pretty classic.
So what do we have here? Take the quiz and find out. Okay. So everybody in the chat, just follow along here and answer the questions. Comic books are only superhero stuff to you. Agree or disagree?
I disagree.
I disagree. I got plenty of comics that are not superhero. In fact, having just moved here, I can't believe it took me 4 days to ask Siri where the nearest comic shop was. But when I went in, the only thing I could find was Crime Syndicate that I wanted this week. But they had a $1 bin, and
nice.
I hit it up. So I got me some Boris the Bear, some Elementals.
Some Comico, perfect.
Yes. Cosmic Slam only because it came out when Mark McGuire was in the running, and I was a St. Louis man. And The Survivor. So, no superhero stuff in half of that.
Nice haul. I love a $1 bin.
Oh, and I didn't have time to go through all of them. They had 20 of them there, and I went through half of one. It's stupendous. Yes, your campaign is sparking up Kooziegate in CG.
Who else is doing koozies?
I
haven't seen them.
The Etsy boys. And that's all they did was a koozie. No comic. They've done no comic book. They ended at the top of CG auction, not auctions, but crowdfunders. First time with a wristband. The second time with the canned koozies, and then the third times they sold socks because they said everybody in CG has sock accounts here. Get your physical socks here, and it's just comic poking at things, and by God, they sell them and they fund them.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, make money. Violence depicted in artistic media is a cancer upon society that must be stopped for the sake of civilization. I disagree with that. Profanity is the effort of a feeble brain to express itself forcibly. Disagree. I think apes are rad. I agree. This is if your answers match this is a book for you. About the only thing this questionnaire is missing about comics is opinion on boobs, and quite frankly, they're an orangutan. So
Yeah, there's no cartoon boobs in the book. I mean, it's just not in there. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to, get by with crazy orangutan madness. But yeah, that's one of the jokes is that I've always said is if I want to sell more of the books, I'll put a black bar that says 18 plus, mature only on El Crudo, and maybe move a couple more units. But
you're a lot younger than I am, but I remember the argument that was when the MPAA was doing the R ratings and the PG ratings and the PG-13 ratings, because directors and producers were trying to push, if they had a fringe PD movie, they were trying to push it over to the R side of the house because that rating would make more money. Because people would think they would see some more violence or they'd see some more skin, and they would buy a ticket. Whereas if they saw PG, they knew they weren't going to see any of that stuff, so they didn't spend the money. They went somewhere else.
You could have a perfect movie, but you weed out the audience, and they'll never know.
Exactly. I think I found my image now, and I did. I'm going to bring it over here. So, yeah, it just flashed right on it there. So this is the picture I was talking about earlier, right? And this is the image I was thinking about.
Let's see it.
Which would, that's because I'm not sharing the freaking screen.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah, that same theme.
And they've got a different version of it too, where Remo's on the left and Chun is on the right, and he's laughing. And that's what got me with this thing here. It's like, that looks exactly like Remo and Chun. So I didn't know if Buros was a Destroyer fan.
No, but that is a very, very iconic, classic kind of juxtaposition where you have the good guy versus the bad guy, and they're looking away, right? And then there's something in between. So that's like, I've seen that a million times. I can't think of where I've seen it. In particular, I'm not like, you got a pretty good memory to have that cataloged in your head there. But yeah,
I'm on the show now, on the series now. So
if I were to search like 80s, 80s movies, 80s action movies, I'm sure I could find 4 or 5 of those instances of, the faded heads, butting up against each other.
Oh yeah, it's a well done. There's probably more of those done than there are of the Frazettas and the Borises. Like the people who aren't fans of Frazetta see this and they're like, oh look, they're making a parody of Christmas Vacation or National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
or Army of Darkness.
Yeah, you're like 5 layers removed from the source material here, folks.
Yeah, that's the funny part where like it's like, well, it didn't used to be cliche, like at one time it was original. So you can't say that Frazetta is cliche because it's cliche now, but it wasn't when he did it. Yeah, it's funny how people have time warps like that.
Oh yeah. So you said this ends after 16 issues in your mind. Are you? Mm-hmm. What are the odds that you think you're going to get like 8 issues into it, and you're like, you know what, we could continue this on further?
Well, it depends. Right now it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and we're barely breaking even. So if we can find an audience, then it would make a lot of sense. I kind of already penciled out an EK2, the Drug Wars, where he goes to Colombia. I have a couple, in the 80s, he gets recalled back into special ops. So I kind of have that 3 or 4 concepts penciled out. If this does catch us some legs, and I have to make more than 16 books, then I'll work on that. But until then, right now, I'm just trying to get these out. They're still taking me. EK5 is going to take about 6 months. So this is all kind of our part-time gig. So that's the main bottleneck is, if we're talking more than 16 issues, now we're talking, 2028, right? 2027. So
a little too far out there.
Yeah. But, talk to me in a couple of years. We'll see where we're at.
Now you had the that flash animation that we saw in the video opener here. This would make a really cool like Samurai Jack style done video for like Adult Swim. And you mentioned that you were looking at doing something with animation earlier on. Are you still shopping this out, sending copies out to production houses?
I haven't in a long time, but we are going to be doing another animated short if we can get funding for it in our next Kickstarter. So that's going to be a stretch goal. So now that we have like a bunch of material, and I mean, as you've probably been around, I mean, comics is like paper films, like we're already kind of storyboarding stuff, and we already kind of are working on that language of how to articulate it towards a camera, and actual animations from a directing perspective and from a organizational perspective, it's a little bit easier because you don't have to work within the confines of pages and panels. So when I first did it in cartoons, the directing part was really easy. Once I had to convert the same concept into page and panels, and everything's got to flow and hit, and then you flip the page. It was a much more of a puzzle, putting together a puzzle. Than animation, you can edit it. There's a lot of different things you could do with it. But yes, I mean, I have the internal monologues, like I hear the voice and stuff. So I think it would play, but it would be, I don't know. We'll see. That's not the goal. I love comics. So my goal right now is just to make this comic book, and if anything else happens, great. But I mean, comics are pretty cool. So having a pretty cool comic is, that's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I do like it that El Crudo does have an internal dialogue. It really helps the reader to stay connected because apes can't talk, but internally they can. So not until Caesar says no, and then everybody loses their shit.
Yeah, we're not. He never talks. But it kind of offers his perspective, right? Of being an ape, going through this crazy conditioning program, and he really internalized it. So we're kind of seeing it through his lens.
Yeah.
And when you get to do the internal monologue of an orangutan, you can say just about anything. You know what I mean?
You're not making it simple. You're not going monosyllabic because ape think, ape talk.
Yeah.
You're using philosophical concepts and almost poetic, like well, sometimes it's poetic and sometimes it's just plain out American, 30 feet up a goddamn out of season fig tree. But starting to understand the word loathing, that's not things you would expect an ape to think about, let alone talk about.
Yeah, we have fun with it. And yeah, it's a fun character. It's once I had the premise in my head, it was really fun to write from that perspective. So yeah, it's just been fun to try to think like him and how he would operate. So definitely try to have fun with it.
Okay, so this is looking, we're showing a May 2021 shipping, which is literally right around the corner because this is mid-March. This thing doesn't end until May.
Yep, so as soon as towards the end of the campaign, I'm probably going to ship more, or I'm probably going to print more than whatever the quantity is, right? So like, let's say, by the end of this, I got to print another 100 issues, let's just say. I'll probably print a couple more. I might do double that. And then at that point, once the funds are accepted, I mean, the print's already set up. It's a 7-day turnaround for my printer. So at that point, I get them and I'll start shipping them in May. Everybody might not get them, just depending on how many I actually have to send out. But right now I'm at 21. I could send out 21 packages on the weekend. So, I mean, this is our fourth time that we have. This is our fourth for sure. This is our fourth time that we have done any sort of fulfillment. So by now it's kind of like I got a little system. Yeah. So, and the printing is the hardest part. I kind of got that part figured out. So I don't anticipate any major roadblocks. I mean, we funded and shipped in the time of COVID on schedule. So
you had a printer that was staying in operation. That's what killed a lot of people, is that their printers were down.
Yeah, I had to switch printers.
Yeah,
I had to switch printers.
Publishing houses were allowed to stay open because they were essential. And I think that's largely because, they weren't essential, but I think the government didn't want to open up the can of worms of saying, hey, we're government and we just told people who print to not go to work. I think that's
who can and who can't.
Issue. Yeah. Let's not do that.
You can print your media, but not you, right? Yeah, that would be that's a tough rope to walk.
Exactly. I forgot where I was going to go with this now.
So there's a question in the chat, Heroin Berg. Manny, since you're in Olympia, are your comics also available at an LCS such as Danger Room or Olympic? Yeah, they're available in both. So Frank's over at Danger Room. He's a big supporter of El Crudo. You'll see some of our stuff up there. Man, I forget her name. Wonderful woman over at Olympic, over in Lacey. Yeah, they've been very supportive of El Crudo. So, yeah, we only got 2 local shops, but yeah, I'm there. I'm also in a bunch of stores in San Francisco, and San Diego. So I have a friend that's doing distribution in San Francisco, and then I was originally from San Diego, so I'm in like probably about 10 shops down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reach out to these people because we're going to be into distribution very soon. If you've watched our chats, you already know that we've got a distribution arm now for distributing Crowdfunded and CG comics.
That's gonna be huge.
I hope so. I mean, it's basically we're going to just mail them, but when we have the overships and I keep an inventory, we're going to put them on the shelves of LCS shops. So
yeah, I mean it's great to have visibility there, but I haven't had a lot of movement. It just depends on the store, really. Some store, but I mean, I get most of my movement either through social media or crowdfunding or my online channels.
So if you were to graph out from your first crowdfunder to this current one here, what's the growth chart look like from your first issue to your last issue? Have you accumulated
Sure.
a steep incline?
Yeah, so we doubled 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4. It wasn't quite a double. So I'm trying to find new. I'm not really great at sales and marketing. I'm as most comic book people are. I'm really kind of a recluse. So it's not a natural thing for me to promote and to do things like this and to get on social media. So and to try to find new audiences. So I had a real big shotgun blast from issues 2 to 3. That's when I was really focusing on that. So I found a lion's share of our fans that one. This last episode 4, it's been great. We found a lot of new fans, and I'm so grateful that people are finding the work. But it's just bad timing for me. I mean, I've been working full time and started a new job and all these things. I haven't been able to put as much time as I needed to really get that out there. So, but no, I mean, we're steady incline, not where I want to be, of course, but we're finding new people every day. So
I know you've got your set story, 1 through 16. That's where you focus. Would you entertain any like one-offs where it has nothing to do with your story, but and it maybe doesn't even affect your canon? But if you were to like, for instance, we've seen Mike Barron and Mike Miller work with Doug Tenaple to do their whole Nexus, Bigfoot Bill, Lone Star crossover deal. If you had an opportunity to do an El Crudo 6-gun gorilla kind of story, would you loan out your character for something like that?
I mean, of course, I'd talk to anybody, but I am actually. That's funny you mentioned that. I'm coming out with a new title. When I launch EK5, we're doing a short ash can. So that would be. So yeah. So I've already kind of thought about that. So I'm kind of doing something similar. So talk to me after you see the ash can, and that's kind of. I'm kind of setting something up for that direct channel. It's a way where I don't have to worry about cannibalization and things like that. And canon, like you mentioned, but I can still kind of explore these other ideas. So yeah, I'm not too far away from that. If you were to talk to me 2 years ago, I'd say it'd be tough. I think it's much more reasonable for me today because I'm learning a lot more. It's been a learning process, but
yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, from like a marketing perspective, there's this huge fan. I say huge fan. There's a vocal fan uprising right now in a good way around this whole AR-15 orangutan deal that's going on Twitter, and it's actually becoming it's gone from a joke to a pinup war to an actual book that's going to be coming out at some point here. So it's fun to watch that organic kind of thing happen. And if that was something where you could say, we've had this for a while, it's right here, and just kind of direct attention, maybe not away from it, but slide into it with it. Say yes, and he can go into war with El Crudo if he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, and I have seen a AR-15 orangutan popping up, and I mean the art looks great. I mean, yeah, there's tons of similarity with El Crudo, so it's kind of like, there's a lot of similarity there. There's a lot of overlap, and yeah, we'll see how that project goes. I mean, there's probably enough room, for everybody to do their own thing. But I mean, yeah, we're still doing our stuff. But yeah, I haven't really decided how. I don't really know how to handle that. It's kind of one of those things where.
Yeah, it's funny how the market becomes accepting to something at weird times. It's like, hey, he's a boy who wears glasses, and he finds out that he's a wizard, so he gets trained by these people in the arts of magic, and it's like, yum, 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 give me more Harry, give me more Harry. Meanwhile, Neil Gaiman's sitting back here going, hi, Tim Hunter, right over there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those things where obviously I didn't do a good enough job. I mean, if they didn't know that we were here, right? That means I didn't do a good enough job of sales and marketing. So, so that's my fault.
I'm letting this one slide out. I always sit down with guys like you and I say, hey, 3D prints, hey, stickers, and that's how I ended up doing the distribution thing, because I started to tell somebody, hey, and then I heard, shut up, do this one yourself. But if I'm stepping in to do distribution, first of all, I'm going to be doing sort of sales and marketing with the LCSs because I want to get the books on shelves. But maybe somebody else out there who's got this marketing kind of experience. I had logistics experience, so I applied it. But they could reach out and say, hey, I will contract with, all you different crowdfunding people and help get your stuff out there because I know the metrics. I know how to get something going. They know the science behind it. We're just like shouting into Twitter and hoping people come.
Yeah, we I mean, we know how to make a book. We're getting books out, and they're pretty cool. I mean, people like them. But in terms of like how to leverage all those channels to find the widest audience, yeah, we're just total grassroots. I mean, started out. I mean, I sell them on the street. I mean, it's just sell them out of the trunk of my car. Yeah, I'm at that level, where we're just trying to get in front of people, and everybody that we do get in front of, they like it, they dig it. So that's been really encouraging. It's just, yeah, like you mentioned, some people have that expertise of getting in front of more people, and I think that this latest AR-15 orangutan proves that, right? That, well, how did they not know? How did they not just say, oh yeah, that's El Crudo? Because like some of the images were pretty spot on, and so that just is on me that I didn't get out there well enough.
Well, lessons learned, right?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we're still out there hustling, and EK5's in production, and that's coming out, and we got a lot of the, like I mentioned, 1 through 4 is the foundation. So the foundation's published, it's printed. We're getting out there, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to continuing with it.
Oh, and we had a backer during the show, so
awesome.
We had what we call this is our shake and bake moment, Manny.
It's shake and bake, and I help.
Nice.
Did it play? Because I didn't hear it on this end. It was just like it flipped up and it flipped out. Must be.
Yeah. No, it sounded good.
All right, man. So thank you so much for coming on the show with us. Folks, if you are interested in El Crudo, and by God, why wouldn't you be? The link is in the description below. Click on that, swing over to Indiegogo, and again, I'm just going to point this out. 1 through 4 physical copies. It's a basic package. You're getting the stickers, the koozie, and you're getting all 4 issues for $22. That's a steal. You're going to pay more than $22 for the last issue of anything that came out with nothing else. So hit that button, get out there and get yourself some El Crudo, and you'll be ready to go when EK5 hits the stands, maybe, but definitely when it hits the internet. So,
yep.
Manny, is there anything about this at all that I should have asked about and didn't?
No, it's just been great, talking with you, and thanks so much for the opportunity and helping support indie comics. I know you do a lot of work in that area, and that's that's a
It's
passion
fun.
of mine as well. So yeah, thanks so much for all that you do for comics, man.
I'm glad to do it, man. Everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up. We don't have a show without you being here. And as always, we just hope you had a blast.